pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon and welcome to the regular scheduled Board of Public Affairs meeting for November 5th, 2019. First on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the October 15th, 2019 regular meeting.
You might see no additions or corrections. Make a motion that we accept.
I'll second.
Dick?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Karen? Yes.
Next is a hearing of public concerns. Anyone would like to address the board that's not on the agenda? Seeing none. Next is a water rate plan presentation.
Good evening. I have been asked to provide an update to the water rate plan or the water revenue requirement study that was presented to the board in 2018 by Courtney and Associates. And I would also like to note that this is just a presentation. We will not be asking for any action tonight. The presentation includes background, rate plan assumptions, the BMU recommendation, and the current water fund financial condition. So to give a little bit of background, the water department is funded through water revenue sources, fixed charges, which is the monthly customer service charge, volumetric charges, which is the commodity charge, and then miscellaneous operating and non-operating sources, which include income from the rental, water sample testing fees, and the farm cash rental. No tax dollars support the water department. The revenues that are generated are designed to cover the operational and capital costs, so the O&M such as labor, supplies, materials, any debt service, loan payments, and capital improvements such as water main, vehicles, meters. If the rates are determined to be insufficient, capital reserves and/or projects may decline, or a higher amount of debt financing may be used. So in September 2018, John Courtney and Associates presented the water revenue requirements and multi-year rate plan. At that time, the three goals of the water revenue requirement study was to determine if the user rates were sufficient to cover the cost of providing the service, that the rates were sufficient to build up reserves for the capital replacement, and that the rates fairly distributed the cost of service among each of the classes. At that time, the board reviewed and discussed three available options, scenarios, and ultimately in October of 2018 approved scenario 2, which was to increase revenues approximately 7% per year beginning in 2019, with the goal of generating $750,000 by year 2022 to cover the capital improvement needs, which the 7% each year would phase that in over time. John Courtney also recommended that the board adopt year 1, that the plan be reevaluated, and determine if 7% was still the amount that was needed or if that number could be backed down at all. So when he made that recommendation, there were two considerations that he discussed. Part of the issue with the water fund was over time there was about a 20% decrease in sales, and we also had a projected increase in capital outlay costs. So those two items determined that the rate plan that had been put in place in 2015 was not sufficient, so now we're in year 1. Which brings us to today, where we're reevaluating the rate plan. So in October of 2019, BMU staff updated the model and it was sent over to Courtney and Associates and he validated the information. The assumptions that were used in the original model remain the same. 0% growth, 3% inflation on O&M expenses, 2% decrease in monthly residential consumption, and commercial and industrial use remained flat. The rate plan goal was to raise approximately $750,000 to cash fund the capital improvements for the water department. The water utility owns roughly 62 miles of water main, 7 water wells, 2 facilities, and they treat and distribute 1.2 to 1.4 million gallons of water per day to residents and businesses. So in order to maintain the system and continue with our capital improvement plan, the updated model validates the original forecast that 7% annual adjustments from 2020 to 2022 are needed to generate approximately $750,000 per year. So, as far as residential, this slide shows the existing rates as well as the recommended future. The monthly service charge has an increase of about $1.25, and the commodity charge has an increase of about 15 cents per 1,000. So overall, for the average user, the residential customers would see an increase of $1.95 to $1.99 per month. For rounding purposes, $2, which would be about $24 a year. Commercial and industrial sales. One of the items in the 2018 plan, prior to that, there was one class. And so the commercial and industrial were separated. That way a smaller business downtown paid more of an accurate cost of service. So the other part of John Courtney recommending that we go back and look at this was to make sure that there weren't any unintended consequences with the rate structure change, which so far I don't believe that we have seen any. So as far as the commercial and industrial, there's a proposed $5 per month monthly service charge increase, and also 15 cents on the commodity. For the commercial bill, it will increase on average user about $8 per month, and an industrial customer, it will raise about $65 per month. So in Courtney's study, we also had a comparison, which, as you can see, Bryan's 2019 average residential bill is $31.75. So even with the proposal up to 2022, we currently would still be competitive with our neighbors. And that's at this point. Communities can change their rates right along the way, just like we can, but right now this is where our ranking stands. The commercial class as well, are pretty competitive. And also with industrial. So in 2018, we also did the utility bill analysis. So you will see that we're anticipating the average total bill to go up about $2 per month. The average total bill of our competitors is $192.13. And we're around $175.73 with the proposed change. So the other thing that we took a look at was, John John Courtney had some projected sales. So we looked at January through September, which is about 75% through the year, to identify if we were on target in our residential, commercial, and industrial classes. So as far as residential and industrial, we are on target. Commercial is a little bit behind, but we have a couple more months left. As far as the water fund and water capital reserve fund financial condition, the graph shows 2018 and 2019 and its trend. Currently, the fund balance is over $2 million. We have a minimum fund balance target of around 1.55, so we are exceeding that minimum amount. And our water capital reserve has about $182,000. There is a transaction in there that has to be, or that by now has been paid out to OWDA, or to the contractor. So even so, we so far this year have transferred $388,179 from the water fund to capital projects. And the water capital reserve fund is expended around $593,585. And the point that I'm trying to make is the money that's being transferred is we are expending it on capital improvement projects, which is providing for better reliability, fire protection, assisting us in our lead-free service goal. So BMU recommendation would be to adopt the remaining 3 years of the plan at the November 19th meeting. And if the BPA would approve this, it would be effective on bills rendered on or after December 20th.
You knew I was going to ask.
I do not know what you're going to ask.
If we adopt a 3-year plan, I mean, we have agreed to adopt a 1 year and revisit it each year. If we adopt a 3-year, do we have the option if something would change? You know what I mean, to come back?
Yeah, in my opinion, we should look at that every year.
Yeah.
And then if conditions change, whether your sales decrease or increase, we should still look at it every year. Thing that I find enticing about just going ahead and adopting the plan is it gives you a construct to work within. You know what you're expected to generate. You can check it off.
Yeah.
And it's not always, you know how much money that you're anticipated to have for capital. And so for planning purposes, forecasting.
Yeah, but I mean, if something was to drastically change,
Yeah.
we could adjust. We could go back and adjust for the second year after the
Correct.
revisit. Yes, okay.
Absolutely. And part of why, we wanted to just do the first year. Last year, we saw an uptick in water sales for the first time in 5 to 7 years. Now this year, with the colder and wetter, particularly weather that we experienced, our sales are flatter than they were. Down slightly from last year, but I think still ahead of 2017, if I remember right. So, that didn't generate as many sales, so there wasn't as many dollars coming in. So I think it was a good way to go, but, we're in our projections assuming no growth on commercial and industrial, and I think a 2% reduction in sales on residential.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
Next on the agenda, request to hire probationary power plant operator trainee.
Good evening. If the board recalls, back in September of 2018, they authorized us to start the recruitment and hiring of a power plant operator. We did run a campaign at that time and received very few applications. Did some internal discussions, and we waited a while, and we started again this summer on recruiting. We had a much better turnout, and Jim and Tim and I spent lots of time meeting with candidates and doing some tours, and we actually interviewed 60% of the candidates that applied. So at this time, what we want to do is we would like to request to hire Jason Beck as the probationary power plant operator trainee. He comes to the utilities with experience in troubleshooting and repairing equipment, as well as preventative maintenance programs. And he is excited to be going back to some schooling for the PLC training part.
It looks like his background would be a plus.
And I know, Jim, you knew what you were looking for, and I think you found it.
Well, we found what we could, I'm not sure what the good word is here,
The best.
effectively get.
Yes, the best fit. Yeah. I trust your judgment because you know what you're looking for. So with that, I'll make a motion that we hire Jason back.
I'll second.
Dick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Karen? Yes.
Next is a request to hire a temporary part-time laborer for the video department.
Correct. Adding of this position will not increase any of the budget. This just gives us another applicant and staff member to utilize for different events, sporting events, concerts, and everything. At this time, we want to hire Donald Miller. He does have experience operating a video camera as well as doing some editing, so there'll be minimal training. We have some of our current employees that are going to go off to college, so it is much needed at this time that we start recruiting again.
Okay, well, I'd like to make a motion that we hire Donald Miller as our temporary part-time labor videographer. It's a lot of words. Tell Eric to move over. Somebody's got a long title, just like he does.
I'll second.
Karen?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next is the Bryan Good Neighbors Utilities Fund Annual Update. Up that.
It's that time of year again.
Time flies.
The Bryan Neighbors Utilities Fund was established in 2005 to provide emergency assistance to customers who are experiencing financial difficulties and are in danger of disconnection of service. The fund is 100% funded by donations from BMU and city employees, customers, charitable groups, and others. The fund is administered by a third-party organization, Northwest Ohio Community Action Commission, or NOCAC. In order to qualify, the income level is up to 175% of the federal poverty guidelines, and a documented hardship such as illness, injury, job loss, etc. is required by NOCAC. The allowable uses are electric, water, bills, utility deposits, reconnection, and late fees. There is a maximum annual assistance of $250 per household, which is subject to however much money is available in the fund. So, since the beginning, the total donations that's been received is $102,884.19, which has gone back to assist the Bryan community. So far in 2019, we have received $1,440 in donations. which is why I'm here today. Beginning on October 20th, in the utility bills, we had a bill stuffer for the annual fall campaign to raise funds for the Bryan Good Neighbors Fund. So, but typically, we've raised anywhere from $2,000 to $11,000. Last year, we raised $5,442. So far in 2019, we've assisted 38 families. Total number of families that have been assisted since 2005 is 829. Typically, in a given year, we help anywhere from 40 to 50. So the current fund balance is $2,023.32, and the eligible families on average have received $124 over the course of the year. So, like I said, we're kicking off our annual campaign, so hopefully that we raise additional funds. The one thing that NOCAP does is they utilize the Bryan Good Neighbors Fund in conjunction with other sources of funding. So that helps the dollars be used the most effective times. So, but we're heading into a season where we'll probably see more of those requests with the cold weather. This is what the bill insert looks like. It can be found online at cityofbryan.net. You can mail in the form to NOCAC. You can also drop it off, which it's located at the Williams County Annex Building.
I'm going to ask you a question. I don't know if you know or not. Do you know how the current balance compares to the balance a year ago? I mean, are we going in about the same level that we did last year? Do you know?
I don't know specifically.
I think we were lower last year.
Were we lower?
Yeah. I have that
Just
information. I just
curious.
don't
I
know.
think we're about out of money
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah.
It was really close. It was quite a bit lower. Because I think that's when a couple of us issued a challenge.
Yes.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Which I'd like to propose.
Okay. Perfect.
I would like to propose, along with maybe a unanimous donor, that we will match up to $500
Okay.
to the city employees, BMU and the city employees, and our mayor and everyone else, anybody that will match up to $500.
Thank you. I think the need typically has a couple different variables, especially on how much is needed, as far as the economy and the jobless rate. I think over the last several years, if we were in the realm of 5,000 to 7,000, typically we could go from one year to the next, and I don't believe we've ever had to turn anyone away. It's gotten low.
We've been as low as like under $100 before though.
Yeah.
You know,
Really?
It's run close
Oh,
to rock
okay.
bottom. And you have some long, super cold winters or whatever, and people have tapped out all the agencies, so
Yeah.
since they can get up to the 250, sometimes they're going back.
And every once in a while, somebody loses their job, gets laid off, whatever. We've got to have compassion. I mean,
Yeah,
give them a little help.
This is not a program where people can keep going to the well.
Right.
I mean, there's a limit to it.
Right.
And it's $250 per year, per family, so that's the maximum.
And it's only electric and water.
And it's only for electric and water payment, not cable television or internet. That's correct.
And I can attest to the fact that NOCAC is getting more visitors early this year as compared to prior years. He asked for directions in the building
We're up front.
where the
They probably
phone
come.
calls come in, yes. Which is very unusual, that, usually,
Seems that.
yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So please try to get my $250.
Next on the agenda is to affect semi-monthly disbursements. Can I have a motion to pay the bills.
So moved, Jim.
Second.
Dick,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Next is comments from BPA and staff. Mr. Long.
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. You know, in light of the things that have happened with City Council abolishing the Board of Public Affairs, I think we were all blindsided by it, and I'm a little surprised we didn't have a discussion. But there's just a lot of issues here that I don't think it's been well thought of. I mean, I don't think council understands how hard we work to keep our supply costs down and you know, run the utility. And as Rhonda mentioned last night, they proposed just to have the 5 members. And I just don't know how they're gonna do that. I don't wanna, I got a feeling your customer care, and if somebody doesn't stay on top of all these, of our energy markets, and they're not gonna be able to handle it. I mean, I got a list here of 28 communities, 21 in Ohio, and some like Hillsdale, Coldwater, Framingham, Michigan, a few in Kentucky, that have 2 separate boards. And the least amount of extra, you know, for the board, their Board of Public Affairs is 2, and that's with a population of 352. And everybody that's right close to us in population has at least 5. Some have 8, one has 12. So my concern is how we're gonna do this with 5 people. And I'm having trouble understanding that. And also, as Tom Sproul asked last night, I can't get it through my head how they said we're gonna save money and a duplication of services. I can't, somebody has to explain that to me. I guess I don't get that, but, and along with that, you know, BMU is a public power. People that pay their bills are owner investors. They own this. They should have a say in what happens to their utility. So I urge everyone to contact your city council member and express your concern, either for it or against it. I just would like to have a discussion and let people know what's going on before this goes to a vote. And I got an ill feeling about it. And I just want everyone to be well educated. And like Judy Ayers said last night at council, you know, we just all want to be informed so you can make that right decision when you vote. And I'm saddened by it. I'm a little concerned. I mean, this board and this staff, this utility runs excellent. It's a lot of work. And I enjoy doing it, and I know these board members work hard too. I love doing what I do, you know, but I have concerns. But with that, I hope we open up this discussion and get more interest and talk it out and come to an end game. With that, I'll just kind of leave that alone. I would like to say next Monday, I'd like to welcome my fellow veterans to have a nice Veterans Day. And also November 11th, Monday at 9 a.m. at the Bryan High School gym, preschool through grade 12, they have a program for the veterans. It's if you can attend it, you'll be overwhelmed. It's just the greatest thing. I know the mayor goes, and it's a wonderful experience. So if you can, please attend it. With that, I'll shut up. Thank you.
Thanks. Karen?
Yes, I got a couple things. I want to let everyone know that I had a wonderful trip going to the Customer Connection Conference last week. It was very educational, and the variety of people that attended from California, and they're working on something out there, getting ready for the big earthquake that's going to happen. And there were a lot of sessions every day that you could attend. And Eric and I, we did attend some together, and we attended some separately just to get a lot of information. And I come back finding out that even while down there, that we're already on top of a lot of this new information. We have APPA software, something that they said was rather new, and come to find out we're using it already, and we'll be introduced to it at some point in the future. That that would be for electric vehicles. And I'm just excited about this conference and the information that, Eric and I got together after one session, and come to find out, we put our notes together, we're on the same page. We've got basically the same information down, that, things that we listened to, things that we heard, things that we want to bring back and install. And it's just got me all fired up. I'm just real happy to have gone. I'm happy with the information learned. And I thank you guys for the opportunity to do that. I always wanted to go anyway, but this was very exciting, and it's a very beneficial program, and I hope that it keeps going on. One thing I also want to mention, next year the conference is going to be in Minnesota, and I just happened to walk up to a table, group of people. This was at the closing reception, and it was so packed in there. But it turns out I was standing with the people that are going to host this reception. And we were talking about our different businesses. And one thing I mentioned was the sad incident about the abolishment of the BPA being put on the ballot. And they have a BPA themselves, this host community, and they said do anything you can to keep it. So that was really uplifting for me as well, to hear them say that it is very important to keep the separation, that they have seen other communities go the other direction and are feeling the struggle that can occur with that. So I want to share that as well. The next thing I wanted to mention was, I hope everybody got to read the article in the Public Forum by Al Horn. Al Horn was a previous Board of Public Affairs member, and this was in last week's newspaper. I think it was on Tuesday's newspaper. I did not get his permission to read this aloud, but I just want to make mention of this. He makes some very good points in his statement. He is against the abolishment of the BPA, and he lists his reasons why. And I want everybody to get a chance to review that. If they need a copy of it, call us here at the utility. We'll make sure we can share the information. Thank you.
Is there any time left?
We'll squeeze you in.
I just had just one comment on the presentation that Dawn made, that, and she touched on it about the rates in neighboring communities and how we stack up against that. And when you look at the increase that we're planning for the next 3 years, we are still below, and way below in some cases, what the present rate is for those cities. So what's going to happen in 3 years for those cities' rates? And look where we're going to be compared to them. It's a no-brainer that the rates here are exceptionally good and favorable. So we want to keep it that way.
Okay.
If the board didn't get my email this afternoon because it came out kind of late,
The replacement service truck number 3 that you authorized, I think it was in October, November of last year, finally arrived a week or so ago. It's parked out front here if you'd like to take a look at it before you go. But that's really all that I have for you this evening.
A little different than one you drove, Jim.
Yeah,
Nice
it's a nice one.
Nice looking.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look at it. Mayor?
I want to encourage you too to go to the elementary program. It is really touching. The kids do a good job. They really do a good job at Bryan in educating the kids about the importance of honoring veterans. And with that being said, the city and utility offices are going to be closed November 11th in observation of Veterans Day.
Right. Laurie?
No, sir.
Ms. Schreier?
Hi.
Anything you'd like to add?
Well, you know, you guys are talking about, maybe I should say that.
Yeah, if you don't mind
Talking
coming up to
about,
the podium even, that'd be great, so that they can hear. is all.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Yeah, don't be intimidated. Sorry.
So you guys are talking, you mentioned about how BPA is, or the Bryan Municipal Utilities is a consumer-owned, and if you do dissolve that board, this board, the people will lose their voice because they won't know who to contact or may not feel like they're not important to have a voice anymore. So I think it is very important that this board be kept so people have the opportunities to come to a smaller, more maybe safe feeling of meeting to be able to be heard. And then, you know, and to have a board that's educated on just the utility part of it is very beneficial for anybody to, if they have any questions. So, that's all I think I need to say.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Yes. Judy?
I would just say I'm very glad to see that there is discussion coming up about this particular situation. I think that's what we need.
I agree.
Thank you, and good luck to all the candidates.
Yeah.
Department head? Anyway?
Just with Veterans Day, I have a veteran that works for me, and Tim every year does, he cooks soup for all the veterans, I believe it's the AMVETs. And so, once again, encourage, if you know a vet, you go down there and have some free lunch. They did a great service for him, and I appreciate all that they've done.
Okay. I guess I would just like to add and touch on something that a couple of the other board members have spoken about, and I'll try not to be too long-winded here, but a little over 2 weeks ago, Mr. Sproul and I attended a council meeting when the proposal was made to dissolve the BPA. I think I can honestly say we were both stunned. And last night, there was another council meeting where the public was given the opportunity to ask questions. Then there was the first reading. There were some good questions brought up. I don't know that there was good answers supplied. So far, I guess, and I'm only speaking personally here, I've only seen a small group of people speak out in favor of it. I've not talked to dozens of people like some other people claim to, but I have talked to quite a few people, and I've yet to have anybody tell me they thought it was a good idea. So I guess my point is I think it's great they're putting it to the voters. That's a democratic way. They're the people who are being most affected by it, because we are talking about a pretty major change in city government here. We have a utility that's been well run. Our rates have always been reasonable, but the service is second to none. We're involved in solar, we're involved in hydro, so we're invested in green power. Also use the same to keep our rates down. Of course, we also have generation. I didn't mean to leave them out. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is hopefully the people that are going to be affected by this, and hopefully there's a good number of people paying attention, that they will ask questions and become an informed voter. And I guess hold the people responsible for this, hold their feet to the fire, and don't Don't take no for an answer. Don't take, we don't know for an answer, because I heard a fair amount of that last night. We're not being allowed a really substantial amount of time to consider this. But I guess in closing, I would like to see as many people as possible come and ask intelligent questions, and like I say, demand intelligent answers, so you actually know what you're voting on. You know what you're giving up. I don't know that you're quite sure you know what you're going to be getting. So, like I say, put it to the voters, do it the democratic way. And we'll all hope for the best. Yes, sir.
May I add one more thing?
Please do.
We're talking about, one of the issues is money and the savings of money. As board members, we're capped at $9,000 a year. No matter how many meetings we attend, we don't get paid more than $9,000. Times 5 is $45,000. The city budget is over $50 million. $45,000 compared to $50 million, that's less than 0.1%. It's a drop in the bucket. That's all they're going to save? I'd have to see some more figures to see if they're going to save more than that. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. With that, we will take a short recess to go into executive session. Before we go into executive session to discuss the employment and compensation of public employees and collective bargaining. And for this meeting, I would ask, besides the board members, Lori, if you would stay, Jackie, if you would stay, Kevin, it's optional. If you're welcome to stay if you'd like. Okay. So that will take a recess.